Awesome. All right, folks. So plan for today is we're going to take a look at your work in your Rising Actions. That's okay, DJ. It took me a minute to get it to work this time. So you are actually just on time. Welcome. So yeah, I want to take a look at your Rising Action drafts today, give you guys some feedback, and we're going to do really similar work with that feedback, okay? So what I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to paste the instructions here. I copied it so I don't have to type it. Here's what I'm going to have you guys do. Whoa, where'd everyone go? So what you guys are going to do is you're going to go into your drafts and you're going to highlight a few moments for me. You're going to be highlighting a moment that you're proud of, green. You guys know that. Tell me why you're proud of it. Highlight a moment that you have a specific question on, yellow, and then ask me that question in the comment. And highlight a moment that where you used a simile, metaphor, or personification, orange, and tell me why you chose to use that particular language device there. Okay. So like for example, you can grab this. You'll grab the little highlighter, green. I'm proud of this moment because ... Okay. And then a moment you have a question on, you can say, my question about this moment is, and then you'll make that yellow. And then your figurative language device you can grab here, and you'll say, click that. This is an example of metaphor. I chose to use this figurative language device because ... and you go ahead and tell me that there, and then this one's going to be orange. So you grab your highlighter and just highlight it orange, okay? Oops, except you actually have to click the button when you hit highlight orange. Boop. Okay, and then I'll look for these three things. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. Yeah, I know, Nathan. Some people like to click. I was too busy drinking my seltzer with my left hand. That's okay. Ava needs a link to the chat. To the stream. I'll grab it for you here, Ava. Oh, I just want this. I'm going to control V it in here just for you, Nathan. Oh, look at that. All right. So, guys, take like 2 or 3 minutes and do those 3 things for me that are right here. The instructions are right here just above where I posted this link for Ava. Okay. So it's 2:15 now. I'll check back in at 2:18, guys, and see how the work's coming along. If you have any questions while you're doing this a little bit of work for me, you can just type them right in the chat, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Let's keep the chat clear for content-related comments, folks. Although you should eat your veggies. Things are looking good on my end, Nathan, so you might just want to refresh. That's okay, bud. All right, guys, it's 2:18. How you looking? Do you need more time, or are you all finished up with that particular ask? Yeah, sure thing, Carolyn. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be good, Sarah. Although I haven't looked at your rising action, you must be working in your exposition, so yeah, I would. Which is fine if you're working in your exposition. No problem there. That's fine. Yep, no problem, guys. Take your time. Yep. Well, we're looking at just the drafts, Nathaniel. That's fine. Yeah, take a couple minutes. I'm only going to be looking at what you highlight. Give you guys until... I'll check back in at around 2:20 or so. Give you guys another minute. I mean, you could theoretically get feedback on one sentence. So I'm not sure what you guys are ashamed of exactly. I'm only looking at the moments that you've highlighted. So that means if you have like 3 sentences written down and you've highlighted different parts of those sentences, you have enough to receive feedback on. There you go, Nathan. All right, how are we looking now, guys? Hey, I posted it up here. How are we looking now, guys? Ready, or do you need more time? If you can't find one, also that's okay. Don't labor over it if you can't find a piece of figurative language. It's not a big deal. All right, so I think that we're in a pretty good place here. So let me have you guys do this for me next. The first thing I want you guys to do for me is in the chat, let me know if you worked on your exposition instead of your rising action. Okay, and those are the only people I need to comment. Just let me know in the chat if you worked on your exposition instead of your rising action. Yeah, that's fine, Sarah. This is step 1. It's okay if you did too. I just want to know where to look when I'm checking on the work today. That's all. Okay, I'm just gonna take some notes here real quick, guys, as you're chatting. It's just so I know where to look. Nathan. That's fine. Oh, that's okay, Sarah. I need to know where to look to give you a complete earning complete today. So I'll write you down here, kiddo. It'll just save me some time. I'll know where to look and I'll have to look in both places. Anyone else? Last call on I worked in the exposition document instead of the rising action document, which is again fine. This is just so I know where to look. Josie. Looks like Ava. Well, I'm gonna check it. I don't have to check it. I don't have to check it right now, but I got to check it. Saoirse. So think about the question I'm asking. My question isn't, do you need to work on your story more? The question is, did you work on your rising action or your exposition? I'm not asking if you want me to check it yet. I'm checking everybody's. This is for me checking to fill in the gradebook, folks. So far, the people I have that worked on their expositions are Harrison, Nathan, Sarah, Josie, Ava, and Saoirse. Anybody else? Last call on that. Okay. Very good. All right, next piece then. DJ worked on exposition. And Haley. Okay. That's all fine. DJ, Haley. Okay, very good. All right. So the next thing I want you to do is, I've got that information. So now I just want volunteers to take a peek at your work in either your exposition or your rising action. Either way, it doesn't matter. I've got the list of kiddos who did the exposition. Volunteers to take a peek at their work, get some feedback just on the highlighted moments, the questions that you've asked specifically, the moments that you're proud of, and or your figurative language moments. So looking for volunteers to take a peek there so that we can use our experiences and the feedback to help others here. Okay, I'll check out the rising action here, Josie. Your piece. I just used the instructions because that was my example. You're probably not going to find a lot of figurative language in the instructions. So we got Josie for the rising action. Other takers on feedback. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to pick. Okay, so we'll do Josie, Nathaniel. Thank you, Nathaniel and Josie. Don't worry about it, Nathaniel M. That's totally fine. Nathaniel M. So we got one Josie and two Nathaniels. Good, thank you, Nathaniel. Yep. I could maybe use 2 more volunteers here, folks. Especially if you haven't received feedback on your piece so far, it's really important that you volunteer to get some feedback now. So maybe 2 more volunteers here. I've looked a lot at DJ's. I've looked a lot at Sarah's. I've looked at Haley's. I'm trying to think of who I've not seen. Saoirse I've looked at. Harrison and Ava, I haven't seen much of yours. I don't think you guys have volunteered. Maddie. Carolyn, I've looked at yours a bunch. Thank you for volunteering in the past. Sarah. Okay, well, let's start with Josie and the 2 Nathaniels, and then we'll go from there. Okay? So... So Josie jumped into her rising action here. Let's see what our question was. Thanks for volunteering again, Josie. A good chapter name. How do you start with a chapter name? I'd write the chapter first. It's kind of like the same rule as the titles. If you haven't written it yet, like the title of your book, you haven't written it yet, you don't really know where to go with a title for the chapter or a book or whatever. So the way you know when to break your chapters, like if you have like a big movement into a different scene, or if something like totally different's going on, if you've moved forward ahead in time quite a bit, like that's like the natural space to have a chapter break. But don't feel like you need to name the chapter right away. I would instead write the chapter out and then look at the events that occur in that chapter and use those to inform what you want the title of the chapter to be. It's kind of the same way with the book too. After you've written your story, you can use what happens and sort of like the different, themes and motifs that are present there to start to think of a good name, right? Or the characters, events, whatever. So that would be my advice there. Thanks for asking your question. Next is going to be Nathaniel Carter. And then we'll do Nathaniel M. Okie dokie. All right, let's see. Is this too slow? Should I speed up the process of getting to the climax? No, not at all. I mean, you got to figure, Nathaniel, a rising action is usually like somewhere between like 70 to 80% of a story, right? It is the lion's share of what occurs. So don't feel rushed, right? So much stuff needs to happen in the rising action, right? You need to build on that central conflict. You need to introduce smaller, minor conflicts, right? If you think about that activity that we did, you have to grow your characters. You have to fully develop them. You have to introduce new characters. You have to move your characters into different settings. There's so much that happens in the rising action. That don't feel rushed, right? You should let your story flow naturally here. But I think it's good. I might die if I go there. Simile, right? He might die. Simile is comparing two things using like or as. So it's not quite a simile. What you've got here is hyperbole, which is absolutely one of the figurative language tools that we used, right? And I like this because of my description. I see broken sticks and old ratty equipment. A door opened in the corner. My curiosity gets the better of me, so I walked up to take a little peep. I like that too, to see what's inside. It's stupid dark. I like this. You know what's great about this is like the first person narration is like really demonstrative of your character being like a young man, right? So you sort of like keep the dialect of a young person even in the narration. It's not just in the dialogue, which is really strong, right? Because you want it to sound like your character speaks because they're speaking to the audience here, right? But I press on, hoping for a cool story to tell the team. I walk in and it's much bigger. There are a layer of dust on everything. I see broken sticks and a lot of old ratty equipment. Yeah, and I think that your comment here sort of speaks to that idea that like you've got a really authentic voice for your character going here, and it's building up both the dialogue moments of your story, but like over here, but also your narrative itself. So your narration. So yeah, really well done here, bud. Nice job. Good, good, good. Okay, and Nathaniel M. Is also in the rising action here. Okay, let's hear. Do I need a capital of the first word of the dialogue? Yeah, because it's like the first word of your sentence, right? So, oh God, said Gary, and then your period's going to go here. This time we really did it, Bill replied. Period here to end your sentence. Here you've got it. Here, get out of here. Eric urged. Nice. Bill heard the running of an armor in the distance. Run, Bill yelled, and then we'll have our... then the three of them ran quickly out of the village. Okay, and the other thing we want to do is we want to indent all of these. It's going to look like this. So because you've got your paragraph, right? Because I can tell because you're skipping the lines, but you want to also indent here, and then this is going to go here as well. The three of them quickly got out of there and went to the village. Yeah, they quickly got out of there. I wonder if you could try to use one of what's a strong verb that you could use that means quickly got out of there, right? Maybe it's like hold on, let me comment here. So maybe like they dashed, right? Out of there, or maybe that they what's another good word for like running really quickly, like sprinted out of there, something like that maybe you could use instead of got out of there quickly, right? You can get rid of that adverb by using one of your strong verbs, but I like the way you're using like the get out of there and went to the village. It's nicely done. Good. Make sure you're capitalizing your character names. Yeah, this is looking really good, bud. Nice job. Awesome. Great question. And guys, if you have any, if you continue to have any questions about formatting dialogue, again, I know that it's very, very tricky to remember all the rules. There are so many to consider. Remember that the guide for formatting dialogue is right in the classwork section of Classroom. And if you go down to our, where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's in our Elements of Fiction presentation here. And then you just got to go find the dialogue piece, right? So at any time, you can search it up. It's on slide 50, and we've got the different rules here. Or you could just go to the dialogue assignment, where I've sort of put all of these pieces here, but these are where you get the full explanations of everything, okay? Just as a reminder. Very good. Okay, so we're going to look at Carolyn's. Very good. Ava for her exposition. Absolutely. Oh, don't worry about it, buddy. That's why we're doing this. Yeah, we'll have the meet. Bolted. Oh, Bolted's a good one. Yes, there is a Google Meet. Okay, so let's look at Carolyn's and Ava's. Carolyn's rising action. Right? Yes. And Ava's exposition. Thank you guys for volunteering. Really appreciate that. Okay, let's start with the question here. I'm wondering if this is a good way to introduce the conflict. So this is what you had emailed about. Very good. Okay, so let's do a little bit. I'm just going to go through and do a little bit of formatting here for you too. So when we do our quotes, we don't have a space after. And the other thing is when you're doing that, you want to indent all of these, right? So don't forget to indent any paragraph breaks. And I'll let you go back and do the rest there, Carolyn. But anytime you're skipping a line for dialogue, make sure that you're indenting there, okay? So thank God for those people. They're just so nice, aren't they? He said, what do you mean are? Summer replied. Oops, fix that for you. Replied to Mia and looked up. Yeah, what do you mean are? Mia said in a harsh tone. Well, what I mean is they are so helpful in giving to me, he said. Well, maybe you think they look like some of your carnival friends. They're not. They are our parents, and they disappeared a long time ago, Summer snapped back. Oh, yeah, it disappeared, he said in a sarcastic tone back. By the way, my name is the demon. By the time he looked up, Summer and Mia were nowhere to be found. Okay, so yeah, he sort of like tells them and like poof, he's gone, right? Yeah, I think that this is a really great way to do it. Like you're doing it sort of through dialogue here, right? So nicely done. One piece of advice that you can do here is add some, action to the different dialogue tags to, sort of like lengthen the moment and create even like more suspense. So like after characters talk, you can sort of describe like what they're looking like, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and this like whether it's your characters or this mysterious figure that we eventually figure out is the demon. Then you can sort of like I said, elongate that moment and build up to it by like your main character becoming like more questioning, and you can sort of like describe that, right? Like her brow furrowed as she wondered why he said they were, and so on. The other thing I would do is I would name the demon, right? So you can go and check out. There's lots of like Dungeons and Dragons demon names. You can check out. There's lots of things. You can just like make one up. But I would definitely give them a name, right? And those are like sort of the two pieces of advice I would give you about this part. Part of this moment, because I like how it added tone to the character's voice, Summer gazed over to the picture of her parents and Mia's dad. The popcorn guy followed her gaze. I think, okay, we're looking at this, right? Yeah, the tone here was great. Absolutely, right? And I think by adding those dialogue tags that I described that show character action or what they're looking like, what they're thinking and feeling, it will even like, it'll sort of like be implied by the tone, what they're going through and sort of like what their face looks like, and etc. Making laugh like hyenas. Yeah, so you've got like, so this one's going to be a simile. But absolutely, this is definitely a piece of figurative language here. Nicely done. All right, great job here, Ellen. Awesome work. Okay, next is Ava, but we got to go over to Rising Action Exposition. Oh, except I have to click the right thing. Here we go. Nathan, let me send this back to you, bud. Okay. And we'll go find Ava here. So this was one you asked originally. Okay. I don't think we looked at this initial part, right, Ava? So we can take a look at this one, even though you were interested in getting some feedback before. You made great progress. I don't know what you're talking about. You've done a great job. Let's take a look. So Andrika eagerly knocked on the wooden door, impatient for Venora to open the door so she could drop the heavy bags on the hardwood floor. The door creaked open, and Venora's smiling face was there when Andrika brought her attention to who was standing in front of her. "Hey, Andrika," Venora said as she extended an arm to her to help carry her bag upstairs. And then here we'll start tabbing in your dialogue. And see how nicely this indicates to your reader the change of speakers? It's really easy. And then you started doing it down here, right? So when you've got your change of speaker, remember in dialogue, you're going to enter, which you did, which is very good, but we're also going to tab. Okay. So you're proud of this because you feel like you used dialogue and nice detail. Love the detail here as well. And I also love how you incorporated the dialogue into that description, right? So it wasn't just a description paragraph. You're starting to move that plot forward by having your character begin to speak, right? And then you go right off into the dialogue. So I would agree. I think that that's really great. Yeah, again, like I think that you did a great job, right? I love the way you incorporated the dialogue into the description. It's really fluid. It's really nicely done. And you jump right into it too. Like maybe that's like another good piece of it, or piece of feedback here is you don't spend a lot of time working your way up to beginning the story, but like you start with your characters and they're just jumping into the action of the story. And right out of the gate, you're using a lot of the tools that we've learned about that make good storytelling, right? You've got your dialogue, you've got your vivid descriptive language there, you've got your wonderful dialogue tags here, and that your great description here, like Andrika exclaimed with a hint of disgust in her voice. This isn't funny, and Draca said as she kicked an empty Pepsi can across the room. This is the kind of action that I was talking about as advice for Carolyn in her dialogue, like adding action to these dialogue tags. It's really, really beautifully done. Like, this is an excellent idea. This is you're just doing great work here. It looks really, really good. Nicely done. Just go back and do a little bit of that formatting work. And like I said, it's really easy. I'm just finding when you change speakers. And I know you did because you already entered them, right? And so it's very easy to just go through. And then what you'll start to notice is you'll start to be like, oh man, my story looks like books that I read. It looks like a page in a book, right? Which is, of course, the goal because you're writing a story, right? Nicely done here, Ava. Really well done. All right. So let's go back here. Let's see. We got time for one more. One more. I need one more volunteer. And then we can do our Google Meet. And let me go back here. That's your exit ticket. It's going to be one more person that we can take a look at their work. And again, I'll just look at what you've highlighted. It's like 2 minutes. Good feedback. All right. And Nathan, I'm looking at your exposition, right, bud? No, the wrong thing. Here we go. My son is currently freaking out in his room because he dropped his baby giraffe out of his bed during a nap and he just simply can't go get it himself. Okay. So let's start with your figurative language device. So since they had nothing else to do and since he had the brains of a worm, they had rigged a motion sensor. Yep. I used it because the piece needed some humor. Yes, it is. It's funny and it's a metaphor, right? So it sort of lightens the mood instead of just saying like, he wasn't very smart. He had the brains of a worm. Is a great way to communicate that same piece of information with a tone of levity, right? Which is, I think it works. I think it's definitely what you were going for here. A good description, okay. I'll do the password, panted Perry, love it. As they entered the room, like I already know they're out of breath. The huge living room, which they had nicknamed the village room because in exaggeration, a whole village could fit in. So such an amazing level of detail. Love it, right? It's that kind of thing that, really like defines good authors when they just take a minute to add in these like really personalized moments that really like bring their worlds to life. Raven Wren, Perry shouted to a hidden microphone. The hidden microphone then concluded that it was either Perry or Sheila saying that and opened the secret passage behind a painting they discovered years ago. The painting swung up to reveal an entrance to Spab. Is it S-P-A-B or is it Spab? I like Spab. Sheila and Perry are best clubhouse. Very good. So this one's Perry, that one's Perry. So yeah, it could be one paragraph. Yeah. No, I love the description. I love the inclusion of dialogue. And again, I love the detail that you put into the description here. Let's see. So you broke your dialogue, right? So Sheila was looking at the machine. That's amazing. She whispered, "Shh, I want to hear more." And then you went later on the way home. So this kind of breaks time. And as a result of that, we're not sure who's starting the speaking here. So you would need a dialogue tag here, which is Nate. I know because you went here, here, and then here, but you don't want that. So I would probably take this dialogue tag right here and move it up here. So like my suggestion would be to cut this one out. And then maybe put it here. Oh. Something like that. Did you know the satellite almost got destroyed in the way, said Nate. We'll do asked. Yeah, and how it ran out of fuel but still made it. We're home. Let's get to it, said Perry. Yeah, this is a little bit better because it initiates who began the conversation, so the back and forth is defined. And I would even add a dialogue tag here as well, right? So usually when you start off the conversation, you want to have the dialogue tags. It's an excellent question. All right, good job, Nathan. Okie dokie. It's Sheila and Perry talking. Okay, yeah. So that's why you definitely want to add the tag because I got it wrong, right? Okay, beautiful. All right, guys. Sarah, thank you so much for volunteering, dear. But we're gonna go ahead and do the meet, so we've got time for that. I appreciate it, and you have volunteered many times. You've been excellent at that. So what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna end the stream, and then just give me a minute, and I'll start up the Google Meet. So just wait a second, and you'll see the link appear. Again, what'll happen is if you go to the main page of the 6th grade LBMS classroom, you'll have the Meet link here. It's already there. I'm going to reset it, so don't click this yet, and then we'll be all set, okay? So I'm actually going to hide it now so you can't accidentally click it. And then, yes. So I'll see you guys in just a second.